another episode of the Sports Lodge. I'm your host, John Lodge, joined by my co-host Mike Jones. And Mike, we had quite the game last night in Edmonton, but I just got to start off by saying this: I am not a fan of late night games. I had so much coffee just to stay up last night for the game that I was up till 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning. That is not good time to be keeping if you want to be productive the next day.
Yeah, I know. I find it inconvenient when I have to actually put my child to bed before the game. It was yeah, no man, it's hard staying up for them. I wonder how many more of these we're gonna have this year, but looks like it'll be quite a few compared considering how much we'll be in the West.
Yeah, I mean, all things considering, I'm happy that the next game tomorrow night is going to be a 7 o'clock start here on the Eastern Time Zone. I don't know exactly how happy the people in Edmonton are that it's going to be a 7 o'clock start, seeing as it'll be a matinee for them. But you know what? I had to stay up late so you can watch the game early. That's just how it goes. It was super destructive on my sleep schedule. I was pouring coffee straight down my throat from the pot last night. It was a scene that I really don't want to repeat. I'm not 20 anymore. I can't stay up this late and be productive the following day without sleeping. I need to be in bed tucked in by like 11 o'clock at night. Like, I'm an old man. Look at the sweater. I'm an old man. Okay, so yeah, this is just it's a destructive thing for me. Getting to the game, a hot start for the Leafs. They were quick, they were on time, and they were stout defensively. They were able to get it done early, putting the puck in the net twice, and they dominated. They really dominated that first period from Edmonton.
Yeah, I know it was awesome to see Spezza really have a good game there. Like you were raving about it last night. The 2 points, that's really big coming from him, especially after being put on waivers as, might not be there every single game, but he's still like at his age, he's still putting in like a lot of effort and he's still being able to be effective especially on the power play also.
The third and fourth line last night, save for penalties that were being taken, and we'll get into that. Believe me, we'll get into that. The third and fourth line were exceptionally good last night against the Oilers. You talked about that Spezza goal in the first period there. That came off the back of an extended offensive zone possession by the top line: Matthews, Marner, Riley, Brody, and I believe Nylander was in there for some reason, not Hyman at that point. Maybe that was a mixture of two lines that just got the offensive zone time, but it really wore down the Oilers. And not that the Leafs got in there right away after that long offensive zone possession, but they got in there quick enough where the fourth line could take advantage of that situation, to take advantage of some tired Oilers players, and especially possibly a tired Koskinen. I know it's funny saying that the goalie was tired in the first period, but it's a little bit mentally exhausting when the opponent is in your zone for such a long period of time. You maybe like a few seconds to relax or calm down, clear your head or whatnot. But the Leafs did not allow that, and Spezza jamming that one in past Koskinen was a good sign to a good start for the game for the Leafs.
Yeah, no, it was a great start to the game. Um, I personally love that Simmons is coming around and starting to be very productive. Three goal game, 3 game goal streak is pretty impressive and a little bit above expectations from what I thought at this point with him.
Yeah, he is definitely a net front presence, isn't he? It's something that he's been in his life as a hockey player, as an NHL player. He has been one of the best guys who stands in front of the net, causes havoc, gets his stick on the puck, and getting that tip in goal, scoring like you said for the third straight game. That's key for the Leafs. Depth scoring is key for the Leafs. You got Spezza scoring. We had Brooks scoring, and his name is escaping me, but in the second game against Calgary, another fourth liner put one in the net, and it's just an exceptional performance by the bottom two lines of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's something that they haven't had.
Is
Go ahead.
is that fourth liner you're thinking about talking about Travis Boyd?
Yes, Travis Boyd. Yes,
He had
that's
another assist last night. 2 games this year. He's got 2 points.
So that, like I said, fantastic job. Depth scoring isn't something that the Leafs have really been able to count on the last few years. It's been a very top heavy team, and it's taxed the top lines. Right? It's almost put a lot on their shoulders that we've got to go out there and we've got to score because these other guys aren't scoring. They're not putting the puck in the net, and you were paying those guys to score. You were paying Kapanen, you were paying Janssen, these guys who should have been able to put it in the net just weren't doing it for you, and so you replaced them with cheaper guys. You replace them with guys who maybe have a little bit more grit to their game, a little bit more grind, a little bit more Zach Hyman in their game than the other guys, and they're able to get it done. They're able to turn the puck over, cycle the puck, and just get that one more offensive chance that the other guys weren't getting. So it's good to see some offensive production from the bottom two lines of the Leafs. But you know what else is good to see from the Leafs? A change in defensive strategy, Mike. They are able to be offensively active, but get back smart defensively and cover their men and make the saves easier for Fred. Now, I'm saying this on a night where Fred gave up a few goals. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt on those because now I'm a Freddie Homer. I always have been, so you can put that on me if you want. But there were a couple times last night where especially on that Draisaitl goal into the empty net off the McDavid pass on the power play. Yeah, it was a little bit lucky, I'll say. Right, that one goes off a whole skate right back to Draisaitl. Who's to say if that puck goes all the way through, if Fred doesn't stop it, or maybe it goes in that way as well. I don't know. But then you add that and the 5-on-3 goal as well. Man, it's tough to stop the puck from going in the net on a 5-on-3. It really is. It's just the way it goes, plain and simple. And the Leafs really need to clean up those penalties, don't they?
Yeah, they definitely did. Kerfoot, what did he have? Three? He had
Yeah,
three last night?
three penalties last
And
night. He
in
took
the last few games, he's been having a little bit of trouble, it seems like. But overall, both teams, not just the Leafs, both teams were having issues with penalties yesterday. They had
well,
like, I think, what was it? I was like listening. I think it was like by the second period, there was like nine penalties, or in the first period, there was like nine penalties or something like that,
I believe by
or
Kerfoot's
maybe in total.
by Kerfoot's third penalty, it was 10 penalties total. And then I don't know if there was if it was 10 to finish the game. I didn't look up that specific stat, but what I do know is that the Leafs were getting called for some pretty ticky tacky penalties. I can understand why Kerfoot was mad on at least one of those calls. The slash on the stick was not a slash, it was a stick check, it wasn't on
Yeah.
the hands. And I don't know why the referee's calling that. They understood later in the game that they needed to give the Leafs a makeup call. Leafs got a couple of those as well. And I think that just like the players, just like the goaltenders, these referees, as we get going, as we get further into the season, they will become better at not calling these not so much penalties, these ticky tacky calls, right? It'll get to the deeper we get into the season, the more important these games get. They will understand that, and they will only start calling the ones that really need to be called. So just like the players, just like the goalies, the refs need a little bit of time as well.
Yep. No, you're very true.
Sorry, I was just reading my own notes here. Uh, as I try to collect my thoughts, the Leafs now 7-2 on the year are the first team ever, I believe, to go 3 for 3 on a Western Conference road trip. And you might think, oh, whatever, they're playing more in the West than they ever
I
have.
find that hard to believe. I'm not surprised. I'm actually really surprised that it's never been done before.
Well, I mean, it is a little shocking, but what I wanted, it's even more shocking when you realize that I believe it was two, it might have been three other teams before the Leafs were in the West Coast for 3 or 4 games in a row. So it was possible to be done even before the Leafs got there, and it just didn't happen. So the Toronto Maple Leafs looking to be a strong contending team, and I can hear the detractors now. We're 8 or 9 games in, guys, and you're already planning the parade route, and you're handing them the cup and giving and designing the ring already. No, what I'm saying is that this is as on time a start as the Toronto Maple Leafs have had in the last decade.
Yeah, no, and like, but I understand. I've seen that like a lot of people have been kind of like acting like that, like thinking their team's all great because and even 9 games and because or how many games their team has had. because of just the fact that like it's such a short season. Already, you're already almost a fifth way through the season. Like it's incredible how almost every single game this year is going to mean something, right?
Yeah, well, they're super important because everyone's playing inside the division, and
Yeah,
I was just looking. You were looking at Vancouver, and we'll talk about them later on in the podcast. But Vancouver was, I believe, 2-5, 2-6, and they had a horrible record. Now they're 500. Who knew all it took was facing the Ottawa Senators a bunch of times to get their heads straight? But it just goes to show exactly how important these games are inside of the division, right? You go on a 3-game losing streak and you could see yourself back quite a ways, and you go on a 4-game winning streak like the Leafs have, and you see yourself gaining cushion for possibly a little bit of a letdown later on in the year where they might go a couple games without a win. And it's really important for them to play strong without having a backup there for Freddie, because I don't care what you say, man, Hutch just isn't enough. He's just not going to do it. He can wear that mask on the bench, track shots, but he is not seeing the net. I mean, I'm scared to see the next back to back in like back to back nights for the Leafs, because you'd almost have to put Hutchison in there, and then you're spending the whole game holding your breath, wondering if this guy's going to be good enough to stop the puck and keep the streak going for the Leafs, right?
I would just hope to God we win as many games as possible between now and then, so that if we have to take a L, we can take the L then.
Um,
Honestly, if he's our only choice, he's our only choice. I don't think we have another goaltender ready to go.
can we put
AHL's
Carlton
starting
in
up
there?
soon. Well, like I said, David Ayers, but I guess if he's still doing the ice, if he's still driving the Zamboni.
Yeah,
Um,
just strap the pads on, Dave. We need you. We get another stat line for your Hockey Hall of Fame career.
yeah, like, at least he can win in Toronto, even if it happened
Well,
to be
he
from a
won in
different team.
Toronto. He just didn't win for
Yeah, that's what I'm
Toronto.
saying.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I last night it was billed as McDavid and the Oilers versus Marner and the Maple Leafs, and that was because McDavid and Marner were tied for points in the NHL or tied for the lead in points in the NHL. Last night, McDavid a little bit more productive than Marner on the point sheet, not on the overall, in my opinion. I think Marner was more dynamic. I think the Leafs did enough to shut down McDavid in the key points in the game to, well, not shut him down, but keep him contained, right? He wasn't flashing and flying around everywhere, but McDavid did end up getting 2 assists to Marner's 1 assist. So McDavid now with the lead, sole lead in the NHL in points with 14, while Marner has 13. My question to you, and it's a question that was asked on the panel last night in one of the intermissions: who is the most valuable Maple Leaf at the end of the season? Is it Marner or is it Matthews?
Um, that's tough because like not to take away from Austin Matthews, he's doing well, but Mitch Marner's having a great year so far, and he's the kind of player that over the last few years, like we've noticed, he can put up a lot of points, and he can lead this team in overall scoring. So honestly, I'm picking Marner.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I love Marner. The one thing I need to say before I say what or give you my point of view on this is that anybody who told me the last couple of years that Mitch Marner wasn't worth his contract, you can eat a bag of you know what, because now you know exactly that he's worth it. He's not being paid as much as Matthews, and he's earning every single penny of that contract now. So Marner back in the good graces of Leafs Nation, leading the team in points. But I have to go with Matthews on this one, man, just simply
Yeah.
because he takes the faceoffs in the key zones. He's driving the line, whereas and Marner is flashy. He's great. He's fantastic, and he is the second best player on this team. But the best player, hands down, is going to be Austin Matthews, and he may get less points than Mitch. He very well may, but it's just what he brings to the table, that wicked shot. The teams always have to be on guard with him. Not that they're not on guard with Marner, but that shot, man, you saw it on the power play. He wound up and he came back and he wired that thing past Koskinen, and he didn't have a chance in the world at saving that. And it was at a key moment for the Leafs after giving up the tying goal, being able to come back there on the power play and get that lead back and then keep it for the rest of the game is key. So to me, it's going to be Matthews. And that's a shock because, like I said, I've been a Marner fanboy. I've been in his camp for a very long time, saying that he could very well be the best player on the team. But I just think Austin Matthews has made such strides in his game. He is using his size and his physicality more. I don't know if it's because of Joe Thornton being there, but he's using that ass more, man. He's pushing his ass out, protecting the puck, keeping people away from it, and that's a Joe Thornton move to me. You've seen him do that year after year after year, being able to cycle the puck and keep it within his body. So I'm going with Austin Matthews on that one, but it's a slight margin because these guys, to me, they're the new Taves and Kane. And for anyone to tell me, of course, Austin Matthews is going to be the best player because he's the center. Jonathan Taves was a center in that duo. And you're not going to tell me that Patrick Kane wasn't the best player on that team because he just was. He was dynamic and he was putting the puck in all the time. These guys, Marner Matthews, they're the new Taves and Kane.
Yep. They've both been compared to them too, actually, before. 1 second here. But yeah, no, I agree actually on that. They seem like they're gonna just keep on getting better every single year. Um, was it Marner? I mean Matthews. He's doing usually what you'd expect from him, but I love that he's being effective on the penalty kill now that he's on it.
Yeah, that's something that's key, and I had talked about this with people previous, saying how the reason why to me Marner was more valuable than Matthews was because Marner played the penalty kill, and he made teams always keep track of him on the penalty kill because with him out there, if he steals that puck, he's gone. He's gone, ladies and gentlemen, and you could have a breakaway and then it's on your goaltender, right? So now if you've got that with Matthews as well out there on the PK, that then it's just the dynamic duo strikes again, right? Batman and Robin just getting everything done. Fred and Barney, if you like that analogy. You brought up the penalty kill, and there was only, I believe, through four penalties, the Leafs had only allowed one shot on net. One shot on net through four penalties given up. That is fantastic for the Maple Leafs, and it just goes to show that they're not only able to box out, but they're able to make the team overthink and not just fire the puck on net. They're getting it. They're getting it into the zone, and they want to fire it, but then the Leafs are just right there. Maybe there's a stick there, maybe there's a body there, and they just have to move it on, and they're just not able to get their set up in their formation and get the results that they're looking for.
Yeah, well, like honestly, I think the Leafs in general, just special teams in general, are doing way better this season. Like, look at the penalty kill. Like, look at that game last night, and then think about the power play all season long. 12 goals in 9 games so far.
Yeah, that would be tops in the league, by the way, if it weren't for Dallas scoring 9 times in the first 16 in the first 3 games. Like I don't. I just Dallas is
What?
yeah, the 9 power play goals out of their first 16 attempts in the first 3 games. So they've been just phenomenal on the power play. But the Leafs are number two, very close number two. They're with 12 power play goals. So just doing fantastic. Moving on to other NHL news, we had some breaking news midday, some shocking news really when Jim Rutherford had stepped down from or as the general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he cited it was because of personal reasons. Now, we may have a little bit more insight as to why this happened, and it may have been more of a um, difference in philosophy or a difference in thought of where the team was headed. And man, it really did shock me to see that Jim Rutherford stepping down, and then after that, you see Pittsburgh just get stomped by the Bruins 4-1. And I watched that game too much to my dismay because I cannot stand the Boston broadcast crew. But I watched that game, and Boston just dominated them from front to back, start to finish.
Yeah, it really was surprising. He's a great GM, so I don't know like any other reason why other than other than them just not being able to get along. Everybody was worried about his health because he's not young, but he obviously cleared that up. And but like yeah, no, it was obviously tension between him and ownership or upper management, and obviously he decided to take the high road and just not bother with it and do his own thing.
Yeah, he also didn't say he was calling it quits for a career either. He said that he was going
Mm.
to reevaluate and might come back next year after his contract runs up with the Penguins, which was up at the end of the year, by the way. So he may have been gone either way from the Penguins by the end of the year. Now the talk moves to who will replace Rutherford as the general manager. Currently, it's the AGM. His name is escaping me, but he's the interim general manager right now. But speculation has moved on to a group of individuals that have been out of work for a little bit. A couple of them being Jason Botterill, Peter Chiarelli, George McPhee, and one name that's really familiar to the fans in Toronto, Mark Hunter. Who do you have as your possible number one guy to slot in there as the new general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Um, I'd probably go with McPhee. He's probably the best one available out of all of them. Like he did a great job in Vegas. Like he did an awesome job. Like look what he did. And but only I just find it hilarious that they're even bringing Shirley's name into it. Like well, I don't know. I don't believe him ever getting another like job as like a full like the general manager, maybe like an assistant general manager job, but I can't see him being a GM again. But
Yeah,
I'd
he
go with
really did screw
McPhee.
the pooch, didn't he? He screwed the pooch real
Oh
hard.
yeah,
They got rid of him in Boston. They got rid of him in Edmonton. He just everywhere he went, he kind of carried a little bit of an odor with him. So it's interesting to me that he is. As I turned my mic up, I realized I had my mic turned down. So hopefully it wasn't too quiet for y'all. But yeah, he really did bring a little bit of an odor to him to every town he went to. The
yeah,
most interesting name to me is Mark Hunter because now I understand he's an OHL guy and it's been a while since he's been in the league. His last job was the AGM with the Maple Leafs, and people thought that there was a group of people who thought that he would get the job over Kyle Dubas, and when he didn't,
yeah.
the relationship soured a little bit. But this is a guy who has a good rapport with young players, and he's going to probably have that's a guy in my opinion that you bring if you're rebuilding, right? If you're going to rebuild the organization, you want to bring in a guy who's got a good rapport with the young and up and coming players, a guy who's a very good scout and could build or rebuild the team possibly very quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly which direction the Penguins go in. But one shocking rumor of a direction is the possible trade of number 87, Sidney Crosby, and number 71, Yevgeny Malkin. I never thought in my life that I would hear these guys would possibly be traded to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, that honestly, I can't believe like the idea of Crosby being traded out. I could see Malkin, but I cannot think about Crosby leaving. Like, could you picture him in any other uniform? Like, if you asked me that right now, I don't know. I don't know what other team that would be able. It'd be so overwhelming to think of him going to another team. To think of where who would want him, like where would he fit and everything. Like, he's that.
I was pondering this and just racking my brain as to where he could go, who could have the assets to trade for him. Because yeah, I mean, if we're talking Sidney Crosby, as much as he's later on in his career, it's still multiple first round picks and a prospect at the very least, right? So,
Yeah,
and the rumor out there is, of course, Montreal. His father was drafted by the Canadians a while ago, and so there's a little bit of a familial connection with the Canadians. But this is what I came up with, Mike. What about the Colorado Avalanche and his buddy Nate McKinnon?
ooh, all right. Let's put a trade together.
I
Let's
and I
put a
mean,
trade together. Like what would you like you would have to move somebody because you'd have to make the room for him. Here, give me a second. Uh,
I just think that if Crosby's going to go somewhere, he's going to want to play with people he knows. And not that he doesn't know everybody in the league, because it's, as big as the NHL seems, it's a very small league still. There's only so many players, right? So everybody knows everybody in that league, right? But
yeah,
to go to a place where you could easily have a connection with somebody, like I said, like Nate McKinnon. I mean, and I know they're in all these commercials together. They're tied together by by their hometown, and it would be extremely interesting to see him play on a team that is so offensively overpowered as the Colorado Avalanche are, right? Could you imagine just adding Sidney Crosby to the ranks of the Colorado Avalanche, and as much as they would be a Stanley Cup contender now, they'd be that much more of a Stanley Cup contender.
could you see the idea of having to take Nathan McKinnon off the first line, or do you say one of them moves over to the wing?
I mean, I think you go 1-2 center, right? I don't know. I mean, they
Who are
would
you?
play.
I'd be putting Crosby on the second line.
Yeah. Crosby's the second line center for sure. The one place they would play together is the first power play, right?
Yep.
That's where you want them both on the ice at the same time. But if you could plug in both McKinnon and Crosby as your number one and number two centers, and I mean it's insane to think of Sidney Crosby as a number two center, but on that team he would be. Then you're laughing. You're building a championship level team, and I can't see Colorado not taking a run at him if it's possible. And I know people are bringing up the Edmonton Oilers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are out of that discussion. They would not be in on Sidney Crosby. It's not even a thought of a thought of a thought, right? So I'm not going there with that, but it would be very odd for me to see number 87, as I have his stick right there, the Tim Hortons stick over my shoulder, number 87 in another jersey. It would just be strange to me. Like you said, more likely to see Evgeny Malkin traded, and trying to put a trade package together for him, a team that's always in the mix for every trade. I could totally see the Vegas Golden Knights going after Evgeny Malkin.
So you few years ago, actually seems probably more like 4 or 5 years ago, he actually announced like he doesn't want to play anywhere but Pittsburgh or Montreal. If he were to leave Pittsburgh, it would be Montreal. I don't know if that's still what he would want now, but like I could see Montreal.
What does Montreal have to give up, though? Right? Are they going to give up Nick Suzuki? Are they going to give up key pieces? Are they going to give up
No, not
Josh
for that
Anderson?
age. It would be smart. And they just signed Josh Anderson 7 years, and I don't think any other team's gonna be that interested in taking him on. Like he's good, but like I still like I was like holy 7 years. Like that's quite the commitment, right? Like, yeah. Well, if you ever had to worry about that Carey Price ever getting traded,
Well, I think that
they
if
just
any
don't
of
have a
those
prospect
guys
ready to go.
Yeah, I think if those guys get traded to the Montreal Canadiens, they're not trading Carey Price because they want to keep him there, right? They want
Yeah,
that guy in the net for to keep them as at a contending level. I mean, we've seen what happens to a team that was a contender when they lose their goaltenders. Just look at Pittsburgh. You lose Marc-Andre Fleury, you lose Matt Murray, and all of a sudden, you make the wrong gamble keeping Tristan Jarry, and you're having a hard time this year in this very strange shortened season. I was putting a trade together for Evgeny Malkin, and jokingly, I said Pittsburgh needs goaltending, so if they trade him to the Golden Knights, they could always trade him for Flower.
that's
I,
true. But I don't think that would. I think that would
I mean, it
still
would
be a
be
little bit of
Flower. It'd be
lopsided.
Flower and then some, but I mean,
Yeah,
it would be quite the chuckle I would get if they ended up trading for Marc Andre Fleury, because I mean, of
yeah.
the goaltenders, and Fleury has been good for the Golden Knights. If we're being honest here, I believe he's undefeated in this young regular season. So the
Where's
goaltending
Robin
duo.
Leonard?
The goaltending duo of Robin Leonard and Marc Andre Fleury, just
Oh yeah.
there, have been very good for the Golden Knights. So I don't know if they really want to move off. I mean, they are paying the goaltending position a lot, but if it's working out, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so we've talked about Sidney Crosby, we've talked about Nate McKinnon, we've talked about Austin Matthews, we talked about Connor McDavid. Those guys, number one selections, all of them. And now it's time to talk about the most recent number one selection, Mike. Let's talk about Alexis Lafreniere. Lafreniere last night getting off the schneid, getting his first NHL goal, and in overtime, no less, on a beautiful pass and a beautiful shot past Allmark of the Buffalo Sabres. It's got to be a huge sigh of relief for the guy, right?
Oh yeah, no, like I wouldn't have sat there and gotten nervous about his slow start, but he's because like obviously he's 18 years old, but that no, like definitely it's out of the way. He can just go forward and the whole team over there in New York hasn't done that well. So like it must be awesome for him to feel like he's finally contributed to the team. But it was a beautiful goal. That was awesome pass, and though his release was right on point, and he was able to get it in.
Yeah, it was something to behold, that's for sure. And talking about a little bit of the heat that he was getting from the fan base, from some detractors about how he's had a little bit of a slow start. Can we just pump the brakes on that for a minute, please, and thank you? He may not have gotten 4 goals in his first game like Austin Matthews, and he may not have gotten off to a hot start like Connor. But guys like Sidney Crosby were off to a little bit of a slow start, and Sidney Crosby's got 3 rings. He's been a fantastic player. He's the captain of his team. He's the leader of that locker room, and it just takes some time for these guys.
Joe Thornton had like 8 points his rookie season.
It's a little bit of a different time. I mean, not that Sidney Crosby in nowadays isn't a little bit of a different time, but we're talking like 1997 with Jumbo Joe when he was drafted, right? And the game was a hell of a lot different in 1997 than it
Yeah.
is right now. A lot more physical, a lot more gritty style of a hockey game than it is the flash and dance and skill of today. But man, I like to compare him to the most recent number one picks, right? And he's not Nail Yakupov, right? So I think you just need to pump the brakes on that a little bit, calm down, let this guy develop, and keep in mind that we are in a COVID year. It's a strange year for you and me. It's especially a strange year for this guy. There's no OTAs. There's no team. There's no team gatherings and getting together for dinners and going to movies or clubs and stuff like that. There's nothing to do. It's very strange to build a culture, or very hard to build a culture, I should say, inside that locker room and feel like you're part of the team. It's also strange just playing with no fans in the building, all of the stuff that it's all new to this kid, and he's trying to assimilate into the organization and get comfortable and get ready. And we saw what it looks like last night when he's comfortable, when he's ready. And I think we're in for more of that as the games are going to go on. I think if you drafted Lafreniere in your fantasy draft, that you are about to be pleased, and if you dropped him, you're about to be sorry.
Yeah, no, it's he like I said, he's 18. It's gonna take a little bit and he'll get adjusted. It's again, it's not even 10 games in the season for them, so he hasn't played enough to really be able to fully show what he's got.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, so I want to talk about new additions to the team and making their presence felt. Big Z in the capital, in Washington. He made his presence felt last night, and Washington definitely made their presence felt last night in the second period. After being down 3-0 to the Islanders in the first, Washington pumped 5 past the Islanders in the second and went on to win this game 6-3. Big Z getting one of those goals and looking good in that jersey, and looks like he's feeling good with his new teammates.
Oh yeah, no, apparently he's just getting along great with everybody and he's really fitting into the dressing room great there. And which is like it's a little bit easier to sit there and see him as a Washington Capital, seeing him have that much fun. He seems to be doing great and got a lot left in the tank, like he said. Um, it's awesome to see them turn that game around too. I know you were happy about that, freaking
Yeah,
out a little bit.
Yeah, I was definitely happy that Washington turned the game around. I was definitely pissed off a little bit later on, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. But Washington doing a great job turnaround. Washington doing a great job in this shortened season, and being able to move past the Holtby era, right? Move past it and be able to build upon it and build to the future. It's funny that you're building to the future with a guy as old as Zdeno Chara, but if you've watched any of his off-season workouts, the guy is a cyborg. He's a beast, and he doesn't perform like a 40-year-old man. That's for sure. Talking about performing, Canadians, they continue to roll, Mike. They continue to roll. They dominated the Flames last night. I believe the final score was 4-2, but the Flames were late to start the game again, and they remind me a lot of the Toronto Maple Leafs from the last couple of years, showing up an hour late and 2 goals down.
Yeah. Montreal is just doing great with the additions they made. Toffoli is just on a tear.
Oh
So
man,
like
I
I'm
don't
not
want to hear
surprised
that.
by that.
I don't want to hear Toffoli on a tear. I don't want to hear it because before he went on this tear, I'm the idiot. I'm the idiot who's like, oh, he's having a horrible start. Time to drop him. Time to cut him. He's not going to do anything on Montreal. I drop him that night. He goes off for a hat trick against Vancouver, and he hasn't stopped scoring since. So, yeah, Tyler Toffoli fitting in fantastic. Vancouver, especially missing that scoring, watching him, and it was against Vancouver that he got the hat trick. So, watching him fill the net definitely leaves a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth of the Canucks. But the Canadians, man, they have been doing fantastic. They got the goaltending they need. Carey Price playing great. They got Allen behind him, and then Josh Anderson, Nick Suzuki. These guys are standing up and they're proving to be much more valuable than we thought they would be. Josh Anderson had 1 goal all year last year.
He
One
was
goal.
injured most of the year.
uh no, it wasn't most of the year.
Most
It was a good he had a good portion of games in, but he was unable to perform in Columbus. He was a guy who had fallen into favor with Tortorella, and I guess that's easy to do with what we've heard about Dubois and what we've heard about Max Domi. But going over to Montreal has been a godsend for the Canadians. He's a big, powerful winger, I believe. I don't know if he's a center, but he's definitely big.
right
He's
wing.
powerful. He's on the wing and he's able to assert his dominance. He's doing fantastic. He's making Marc Bergevin look like a genius.
Oh yeah, I know for sure he's got 5 points in 7 games, 4 of them goals. He's been fitting in amazing. Yeah, well, we saw that when he played the Leafs on opening day.
Yeah, he had two in opening day against the Maple Leafs, and what's Max Domi doing over there for Columbus, right? That's
Oh
that's that's
yeah.
all that's all you really got to look at is who's outperforming who. Max Domi's already pissed off at John Tortorella,
Oh, really?
as was Dubois. And it just seems like it might not be a fit over there in Columbus. And if it's not a fit over there, if it's not a fit in Montreal, where is a fit for Max Domi? He was on Arizona, he went to Montreal, and now to Columbus. I mean, what team is he going to fit on? Is he just going to be a problematic type of player?
Is it him? Is it really gonna be him?
I
Like,
don't know. I mean I always saw Max as a scrappy type player, not obviously like his father because the game has changed so much, but definitely has the same fire as Ty did in his game. I guess maybe Torts wants more of that. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem to be working out in Columbus for Domi, and if it hasn't worked out on three different teams, then eventually you have to look at the player and not the organizations, right?
yeah.
One, okay, maybe it didn't work out in Arizona. It's a bad spot. You don't want to play him. Fine. You go to Montreal. Oh, they had a bad team kind of when you were on there, and they asked you to play center, and that was a little bit of your depth. So okay, I'll give you a mulligan on that one. But now we're moving to a third organization, and an organization that was just in the play-in rounds that has fantastic goaltending, great coaching, good, decent depth, not great depth, but decent depth, and it's not working out again. So, in my opinion, now we have to start looking at the player and start asking the hard questions: as is Max Domi the problem?
Yeah, if you put all those points together, it really makes sense. Um, like if that's the thing, but like if that's the case, where would you think you'd fit? Where do you think you would be able to play the game that he wants to play.
Man, I'd hate to say this, but he might be one of those guys like Matt Molson who just ends up in the AHL eventually.
Really? Yeah.
Who like Matt Molson just named the captain, I believe, of the Hershey Bears. And Matt Molson was dynamic for the Buffalo Sabres for a couple years, but he just fell out of the NHL. He wasn't able to keep up with the pace, the style. He wasn't able to keep up with the game. And I mean, I love Max Domi, but unless you make a 180, unless you make a big change to yourself, and you look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, listen, it's not the teams, it's me. I need to fix something. I need to be better. I need to bite down, grit my teeth, and get this shit done. Or you continue blaming everybody else, and all of a sudden you fall out of the league. So I hate to say it, but if it continues on this path, Max Domi is going to be an AHL player.
That's a bold statement, but yeah, if it does, like he's got 3 points this year, so hopefully he has a rebound like later on in the season. But obviously, if he's not going to get along with Torts, there's like really low likelihood of that actually happening. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. There's a long, long, long list of players that do not stay in Columbus, and they really all do kind of point towards Torts too. All
Yeah,
he's been coach for all of them.
yeah, I
Well,
think
again, not including just their early years when they were just not good. That's why people would leave. Like they've been good, but people still leave, right? And like this is a little different because it's the way he's playing. But maybe it's just maybe he doesn't have the desire to play in that system or play for them now that
it's
he's gotten to know them.
it's really interesting that everybody seems to dislike Columbus so much, or at least playing in the city of Columbus so much. But it's an organization that you think should do pretty well with the able or with their ability to draft and develop goaltending, and the ability to just play a gritty, almost mid '90s, early 2000s New Jersey Devils style game, where they just shut it down. It's really the way the Islanders are successful this year, right? Just put the way they say the Islanders are successful is they throw sand on the ice, right? And good luck skating through that. And I kind of view Columbus a little bit the same. Guys like Seth Jones, though, they really haven't had an issue working in Columbus, working under Tortorella, and they've been able to develop and prosper under that sort of pressure and exposure. So I don't know if it's the style of player, and I hate to say it, but the players nowadays are a little softer than they used to be.
Yeah, I
You
was about to say
know,
that. Like guys like Seth Jones, Nick Foligno, and who else on there has been able to stick around for a long time and be good? Cam Atkinson's been an all-star. Those guys probably just have some
Boone
thicker
Jenner.
skin, thicker exactly. Oh, I could see Boone Jenner. He's a farm boy. But like yeah, I could see those guys all just having thicker skin and understanding is like it's a sport. What do you expect this is? Babysitting? Like it's not like you're not going to daycare every day. You're going to play in the NHL. Like what do you expect them to hold your hand? Like
Yeah,
that's like so I think a lot of these younger guys are just not down to handle Torts. Like
yeah.
he is gonna be tough on you.
Yeah, and unfortunately for a two-time Jack Adams Award winner, a two-time Coach of the Year, for those who don't know what
Stanley Cup
Jack Adams is,
champion.
yeah, Stanley Cup champion, he may be without a job at the end of the year.
Hmm.
If Yarmo dictate or looks at his team and is like, okay, we've got to make a change in culture here, then the change in culture might be to get a guy who's a little bit more player friendly. I mean, look at what the Leafs did with Mike Babcock. Now we understand that a lot of not a lot, but some interesting things came out about Babcock afterwards, about how he ran the locker room and the players. But a very similar style coach to Tortorella, an old school guy, a gritty guy, and maybe that just isn't going to work for that specific team. You put in a guy like Sheldon Keefe in Toronto, who is a friend of the young guys, who was there when they were growing and developing, and is able to understand them on a certain level. Then maybe you can get more out of them, and maybe that's the move that Columbus has to make. It's not on the lines, but it's in the coaching staff.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, and if that ends up being the reason, it's like Like, not that he's a bad coach, and not that there isn't players that do like him, but the fact that they can't attract any younger players, and or like a good portion of different people because they do not want to play for him, that gets around. I don't think he'll be getting another job. He'll end up like Babcock, who's now doing media,
He'll be
right?
back on the quiz on TSN, complaining about how
Yeah.
much he hates the quiz and how much he hates being on the panel, but he needs a paycheck, right? I don't know. I mean, I think there'll always be a job for a guy like John Tortorella in the NHL, but it's a situation where
It'll
if
be hard. It might be kind of shooting yourself in the foot though. Like, I wouldn't be signing him to any big long contracts like we did to Mike Babcock. That's for sure.
no, it definitely. I think the long contract may be gone for a guy like Torts if he's out in Columbus. But like, if you need someone to whip guys into shape, a more of a veteran team as opposed to a young team that you're looking to get them going, then that's where you bring a guy in like Tortorella. But if you've got a bunch of young guys who are not only fresh to the league but have a certain mentality and a certain way they hold themselves, then Tortorella is just not going to be their cup of tea. Um,
Yep.
all right, getting back to the Canadian division, getting back to the Vancouver Canucks. Uh, like I said earlier, man, who knew that all they needed was to face the Ottawa Senators 4 times to get their heads out of their asses and get things going. Elias Pettersson scoring again last night, getting a goal and an assist. And they've just, I believe, they outscored the Senators 16-3 in their series against them at home and away. So my big point in this is I thought Matt Murray was a lot better than that.
Yep. He's got to be better, but the whole team's got to be better. I had a lot of faith in them after seeing them beat us. Right? Like, they beat us. They beat us, and it was a good game. Of course, we came rebounded and won the next one, but they've got to be better. They have so much potential with some of those young guys, and it's just not happening. And you know what? I love to say it. I still hate them. They're the Sens. Like, seriously, I don't
I can
understand. I don't understand. I don't understand them at all. I just hate them. They shouldn't exist. Go away.
I
But
remember
no, I do think
driving.
they're getting better. There's a lot of potential, but they gotta, like, they gotta produce. They gotta stop the puck. And they also have a bunch of guys that are just unable to play that are supposed to be there. Like Colin White. Like, is he missing? Like, you should start putting him on milk cartons, because,
Yeah,
like, where's he been?
I was just gonna say, yeah, he's probably on some chocolate milk cartons somewhere in the states.
Nick Paul is surprisingly having a great start to the year, but, like, that's not, you need more than that. Tim Stutzla is obviously young. Galchenyuk, you can add him to that list of missing children. And
Galchenyuk's been missing since 2015.
so
Okay, let's just
he's
be honest
pronounced
about
dead
that.
now.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just be honest about that one, man. I remember driving to
Zaitsev,
Ottawa.
baby.
I
Holy man, that guy's having one.
I
Sorry, but
remember
yeah.
driving to Ottawa with you to just go watch a game and cheer against the Senators. We weren't even going to watch the Leafs at this point. We did go a week later, but we drove all the way to Ottawa just to go watch the Islanders versus the Senators, just to boo the Senators as Leaf fans. That's how much we did not like the Senators. So yeah, good times there in Ottawa. Getting into a little bit with the mascot there. At the games, but
And he remembered me the week after.
yeah, all about good times, man. We had some good times in Canada, and only hope for good
Gatineau.
things. Yes, Gatineau, and seeing the France license plate, that one was that one threw you for a loop. It's I always like to see better competitiveness though out of the teams that you're going to play against a lot. And as much as I probably would hate saying this at one point the Senators do end up becoming competitive and pass the Leafs, not this year, but in the coming years. So I probably will regret saying this, but I would love to see the Senators be competitive. I would love to see them be a better team because there were no better times for me thinking back to my younger years than the Battle of Ontario with Darcy Tucker, Matt Sundin, Gary Roberts, and the bunch of them going up against those guys in the playoffs against Daniel Alfredson, Zdeno Chara, going up against Chris Neal and those guys. It was just a fantastic game every single time. And yeah, maybe I loved it because the Leafs were beating them a lot, but it was a great feeling to have that fire and that energy between the two teams.
Yeah, honestly, like oh that game, Newendike scoring 2 goals in game 7. Oh, those were the good old days. I just love beating the Senators. I love beating them. And that's another reason why I'd agree with wanting them to do good because they need to do good, or else they're just going to lose interest and they won't have a team eventually, and we will lose that rivalry. Like it's awesome. I wish
Yeah.
we could. It'd be great if we could event it. This would be the year if they could get their heads out of their asses and make the playoffs. This
Well, when
could be the year that we could have played the Senators in the playoffs, probably because it's been a long time.
there's a key issue on the team, and it happened last night when your best player has to drop the gloves and fight. When Brady Kachuk has to fight, you
But
got
he
to
will fight. He likes to
no,
fight.
I understand, but there should be other guys on
Yeah,
that team who step up in that moment and make it not necessary for him to fight. It's like when we saw Jason Spezza. I know that's a massive age difference, but
where was Austin Watson?
last year when we saw Jason Spezza, right,
Yeah,
fight and bring the energy to the Maple Leafs and bring them back into that game, that should not have ever been necessary for Jason Spezza to do that, right? It should not have been necessary at all because someone else should have taken that upon themselves to get their knuckles dirty and get it grinding and gritty and get the team back in it, like Wayne Simmons has done for the Leafs this year, right? And like um uh, 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 names are escaping me, but like players have done in the past, it's not up to the star player to get dirty like that. It should be
yeah.
up to the secondary players, the guys, the depth players to get it going, to get the energy building line, right? That's where you need to get these fights from. You don't need Brady Kachuk breaking his hand on some guy's face because he's pissed off or because you're trying to get some energy from your team, right? Because then you lose Brady Kachuk for a month.
It's true. But yeah, where was Austin Watson then if they were needing somebody in that situation? I guess not on the same line, like he wasn't on the ice, but he could have followed it up after, and Kachuk could have just walked away. You got Erica Branson on there who could drop the mitts. Braden Coburn does not shy. Josh Brown isn't shy. We know that from his days with the Generals. Where were these guys?
Obviously taking a nap somewhere. They didn't
They have
want to get
Michael
up.
Haley. What? Well, I don't expect him to actually be in the lineup, but
They were obviously taking a nap, but talking about one Kachuk makes me want to talk about another Kachuk. We didn't get a chance to talk about it because we recorded before the Calgary game, and so this is the first time we've talked on camera since the Calgary game. And what a job the Leafs did not getting sucked in to Matt Kachuk's style of game, not getting sucked into giving the Calgary Flames energy during the game when they were doing everything they needed to do offensively to control the Calgary Flames. And at the end, just petty enough for me to love it. Jake Muzzin turning around and flicking, just no power, just flicking the puck at Matt Kachuk's chest, sending him off into a Drew Doughty esque tantrum. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was delicious.
oh yeah, no, I was about to send the Calgary Flames a pack of diapers so that they could handle with that in the dressing room after. That was hilarious. I love Matthew Kachuk. I love both Kachuk brothers. They're awesome players, but oh man, just to see him just freak out like that when something
Yeah,
he would do, he's probably done, and just see him happen to him and him just freak out and just go nuts. Like he was looking a little mental. Everybody was just like, calm down, dude. Like,
yeah, he slammed the door on his player coming in behind him twice. Right, the first time it didn't shut, so he cycled back and slammed it again. This is like, man, like, what if your boy was there and you hit him in the knee or something and you bruised his knee with that door, or whatever, and he's out for a week or 2 weeks with a bruised knee. He's not unable to skate, and then he's like punching the water bottle holder on the wall and just throwing this big whiny baby tantrum going down the hallway. If you don't like it, be better in the game, man. Be more
Yeah.
impactful. Do more in the 60 minutes. Don't be doing this and complaining and whining after. It's not like he slap shot the puck at you. It's not like he low blowed you or did something dirty to you. He did something like you said that he's probably done before to somebody else. He just gave him a little flick of the puck just enough to just boop, and push him over the edge, right? And Matt Kachuk blew up. And I wouldn't be surprised, man, if Matt Kachuk in the next meeting with Toronto does try to drop the gloves with someone just because he's still a little perturbed with how he was treated by the Maple Leafs.
But who would he try and drop the gloves with? Because everybody that we don't have that does fight, I don't think he would go anywhere near.
Muzzin, maybe. I think honestly, because
I think Muzzin would crunch him. I think
I,
Muzzin would beat him pretty easy.
I mean,
He's not a good fighter. He's even admitted that his younger brother's a better fighter than he is.
yeah,
Brady
and
Kachuk's a bigger kid, though.
I'm not saying that it would be a smart move, but of all the people to go after, I don't think you go after someone more skilled, because if you do, then you're leaving it open for a couple of the Leafs to go after, say, Johnny Gaudreau or someone small on the Flames. But go after the guy who flipped the puck at you, right, and tell him you didn't
That's
like it,
true.
and see if he's got a response. And if Muzzin does have a response, like you said, Muzzin might just dust him.
Oh, I love to see Muzzin get mad. It's actually scary. Like he looks like he's gonna turn into a bear. Well, we
Okay,
got that. Oh, wait. We could just send our actual bear that we have. We have a bear on the roster. Why don't we just send him after Kachuk if he wants to go and try and start
but
something?
we're gonna send Carlton.
No,
I'm sorry, I was just
Bogosian. That guy
I
is a
was just
bear. He looks like a bear.
man, you know who looks like he's got a bearskin rug under his jersey, and I
Who?
can I can sympathize. Kerfoot. I didn't see. I thought he was where. I thought he had a bruise on his neck a couple games back, and I was like, "Oh, what happened to Kerfoot?" And then the camera focused, and it's all hair. This guy's full 1980s, like he's got a shag rug going on underneath his clothes, and I sympathize with the man because I'm the same way. But I did not expect to see that from that little guy, from Alex Kerfoot. But yeah, definitely got a whole 1980s bearskin rug going on underneath his clothes. So yeah, a little bit of sympathy there for Kerfoot. I
Oh.
need a little bit of sympathy though. I need a little bit of sympathy from the world, Mike. You brought up the fact that I was happy to see Washington come back and win, but what I wasn't happy about was the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning couldn't get it done last night. Where was Tampa Bay last night, Mike? This is the Stanley Cup champions. This is supposed to be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire league. They're going up against the Carolina Hurricanes, and they lose to Carolina 1-0 in overtime, sewering my parlay, my $3,000 parlay. Are you kidding? I picked 9 teams last night, ladies and gentlemen, and I went 8 for 9. 8 for 9. My only loss being Tampa versus Carolina. That should be criminal. They should have to send me to my bank account $3,000 today. I should be contacting Steven Stamkos and demanding a $3,000 payment to my bank account because they couldn't score against Carolina.
Well, he's laughing at that phone call. I was feeling for you all morning, man. Oh my god, that was hilarious. Just like in 3-on-3 overtime too, so it could have very, very easily been the other way around. Like it wasn't like they lost 3-1 in like they gave up 2 goals in the third period. Like it could have one wrong move and it could have been the other way around. That's killer. And what really, I can't believe those two teams played. Well, just Tampa in general played the whole game against Carolina and nothing. Neither team scored through the entire 60 minutes.
Yeah, no
Oh,
Braden Point, no Steven Stamkos. I mean, like nothing at all. Andre Vasilevsky obviously standing on his head and keeping everything out of the Carolina from the Carolina side until that fateful one that went in overtime, which cost me my parlay. But yeah, I'm upset that they couldn't score, man. It's Carolina. I understand that they're a decent team. They're not like the dregs, the bottom of the division, the bottom of the league. It's not like you couldn't score against the Ottawa Senators or the Vancouver Canucks. Not that you'd be playing them because they're American teams and the other ones are Canadian teams. But man, it was really left a sour taste in my mouth. I was prepared to lose after the first period with the Washington Capitals being down 3-0. I was like, okay, that's fine, fine and well. And if I get 2 or 3 wrong out of my 9, I'll accept that because it's 9 teams. Who's supposed to pick 9 teams as winners? It's the odds are astronomical for a reason, but I did it and I should have won. And I blame Steven Stamkos. I blame Braden Point.
Well,
I
who was on the ice?
blame I I I blame them all. It's John Cooper. It's Brisebois. You're all at fault. And I'm putting you
Hey, might as well blame Phil Esposito for even starting the team in the first place then, right?
You're all on notice. You're on notice. You better win the next time I put money on you. Because if you don't, look out. I'm driving to Tampa. Obviously not.
You should start doing your own picks on the show and give some people some insight if you're gonna be going that close. Like, holy,
yeah,
that would have been a nice little payday.
Right? 8 for 9 is a pretty good
just
night.
To rub it in your face, it was a nice little payday.
Yeah, I wish as would everybody else. You know what? It's probably a pretty good idea to look at. Oh, we have another fantastic night in the NHL tonight. One game in the NHL.
A Friday night. Come on.
Friday night, Columbus versus Chicago. That's what we have.
Football this weekend either.
So, you know what? I can't give you picks on just one game of Columbus versus Chicago, but Columbus going to win that game, obviously. But looking ahead to Saturday, I'll give you 4 that I think are going to win. Got a good matchup: Buffalo versus New Jersey. Buffalo's going to take that one. Montreal will beat Calgary again. Florida will beat Detroit. And I'm looking at you, Tampa. I'm looking at you. Tampa Bay versus the Nashville Predators. I'm taking you again, Tampa. You better score. Tampa Bay to beat Nashville. So yeah, that my 4 picks for Saturday: Buffalo, Montreal, Florida, Tampa Bay. Book it. That's all we've got. I was gonna say that's all we've got for tonight, or for this episode of the Sports Lodge here from the Sports Lodge, and obviously Mike from his office, and we'll be back again in the following or next week on Tuesday. This is going to be a Tuesday and a Friday show. I think that's what works best for us, and that's what works best for everybody. It gives us a chance to digest the weekend games and then look forward to the other weekend games, and give a little bit of an insight as to what happened in the following week. This is not just going to be a hockey-centric podcast, as you know from the last show, but when hockey's all that's on, hockey is all to talk about, really. We're going to talk about hockey. Looking forward to a good weekend's worth of games. Looking forward to a second win by the Maple Leafs tomorrow night against the Oilers. And yeah, that's all we got for you this week. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. If you think I'm ugly, go ahead and tell me. I don't care. But
you're ugly.
What I want you to do is to leave a comment. Leave a comment, please. Let me know what you think, because your comments mean the world to us, and it'll only help us get better as we go. Thanks again for joining me, Mike. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Peace.
Take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.